Hey guys, Magnus, Robert here, bringing you another video. So today, it's going to be something particularly interesting. Well, I think particularly interesting, because it's the last match, the last game of round 2 of TSTO Battle of the Best Events. Now today, we are going to be finishing off round 2 at least, with Treehouse of Horror XXVII versus Itchy and Scratchy Land. So this is the 2016 Treehouse of Horror, and this is Itchy and Scratchy Land, the, if you will, the takedown update for Krusty Land. Obviously, it took down Krusty Land and it allowed us to bring that into Springfield, which I'll have to discuss. But let's start off with marking it in progress and editing the score, or reporting the scores. So we get this little box up. So there's obviously 5 points to be won. First point, structure and theme. Second point is characters and costumes. Third point is buildings and building skins. Fourth point is decorations. And the fifth and final point is my general overall feel as of today. It's this sort of bonus point, the tiebreaker, if you will. So let's start off with the older of the events, which is of course Treehouse of Horror. So Treehouse of Horror XXVII, or aka 2016, was of course a normal sort of 3-act structure major event. Now I have trouble really pinning down the theme as such, because although they sort of started off with this very kind of almost like Lisa was sort of filming a Halloween movie, that's what it kind of felt as at first. It kind of quickly devolved into a little bit of a mess. I'm not gonna lie though, I kind of enjoyed it. Although it didn't have a particularly solid theme, they just sort of threw some items together and then they tried to tie it together with the questline. I actually really appreciated it. I think they did a decent enough job. It was a little weaker in Act 3, and Act 2 wasn't great. I think Act 1 was the best, but I think overall I enjoyed it for the most part. I know a lot of people complained at the time that it felt like they took a bunch of shit and threw it against the wall and just kind of saw what stuck. But there was a lot I actually really enjoyed about this update. So I think the theme itself is I'm going to say okay. The structure though was obviously 3-act structure, crafting, all of that nonsense that we used to get. I'm not gonna be too mean. Some stuff in the store, you know, free prizes at the end, like free a costume and 2 characters, I believe, as the final prizes. So yeah, that was it, and then the rest of it was premium. So let's move on to Itchy and Scratchy Land. So Itchy and Scratchy Land as well was a 3-act structure event. Of course, came out in 2018. It had crafting, it had all that good stuff. It also had these little rides that you could slowly upgrade over time. The biggest thing though was of course the fact that this update took down your Krusty Land. It bulldozed your Krusty Land, it got rid of Krusty Land and brought all of the Krusty Land stuff to your Springfield. Now at the time I was a little iffy on it, because I really enjoyed Krusty Land, I'm not gonna lie. I think it was a really cool aspect that they added in the game all those years ago. So when this update came along to basically get rid of your Krusty Land and bring it to Springfield, I was a little at first. On reflection though, as of today, I actually think it was a good decision, a very good decision, because they had 2 choices really. They could either just forget and leave Krusty Land there and leave it in your separate game, and you're never going to be able to really do much with it because they're not going to add new content for it. You can't expect them to add new content every update for Krusty Land. There's just not going to be content on certain updates. Like imagine them doing Love and War and trying to add, I guess they could have added that tunnel cave, but at the most they could have added like that, for example, to the update, and that would have been it. So I think they had the option of just leaving it, or they could bring it to your Springfield, and I generally think that was the best idea. I think as of today, if Krusty Land was still there, and maybe every so often we got something new for Krusty Land, it would have been cool, but I personally, if I could retroactively go back in time and change and stop EA from doing that, I wouldn't, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So obviously strong theme. The theme was of course Itchy and Scratchy Land, based around the episode, and also based around kind of Itchy and Scratchy as a sort of, I guess, as a theme as well. We got some people from different episodes. So yeah, that is the update. Overall, very good. So, which one gets the point for structure and theme? This is not a tricky one. I generally think just for the fact that they sort of took down Krusty Land. I don't want to really count that, but that's so. Even if I don't count that as a reason, I still think the theme is stronger. I still think the sort of feel of the event was much stronger. The fact that you had to build up your little rides as well. I think there was just a lot more going on in Itchy and Scratchy Land, so I'll give the point to them. Moving on, we have characters. So starting off, we have Treehouse of Horror. So of course, Treehouse of Horror gave us the Space Marshmallow. Can barely say it. Gave us Death. Awesome character. Space Marshmallow, he's okay. I think he's good for the most part. Death, I love. Frankenstein, I think is great. I need to get my little my pen and paper to mark these points. So I probably won't give a point to Space Marshmallow. Definitely give a point to Death. Point to Frankenstein. A point to Gravedigger Billy. Blinky Monster, I'll give a point to too. And then we have costumes. Filmmaker Lisa, probably controversial, but I actually like this costume for the most part. Werewolf Flanders gets a point. I'm not going to give one to Crazy Iguana Lady. She's alright, but doesn't get a point. Moving on, we have Itchy and Scratchy Land. So Itchy, he gets a point. Diane, I'm not going to give a point to Diane. Not going to give a point to Bort. For some weird reason, I love Corporal Punishment, so I'll give him a point. The Park Engineer, I'll give him a point to make up for Jeremy and Diane. I think Jeremy and Diane are like, they're just so, there's nothing about them to me, but some part of me likes the fact they added them. So with Jeremy, Diane, and the Park Engineer combined, I'm gonna give a point. Miss Mouse, yeah, I'll give a point too. I think what they did with her was okay. I'll give her. Actually, tell you what, I'll give her a point. June Bellamy, yeah, I actually really liked what they did with June. Tina Ballerina, I'm a little iffy on. I'm probably gonna say, I'll give a point. I'll give a point to her just because she completed that collection. Scratchy gets a point. I'm missing Ronald Reagan and J. Edgar Hoover, by the way, because those two aren't a part of this update. One was a part of Pride, one was a part of 4th of July. And then Mars Buckler, I can't give a point to, although she did eventually was re-added in a box. And then character skins, we have the Squeaky Voice Attendant. I can't give a point to the Squeaky Voice Attendant. So, that rules off with just narrowly. The winner is Itchy and Scratchy Land, just by 1 point. I think in terms of the quality of the characters as well, like I would like what would I want? Would I prefer Itchy and Scratchy, these two pinnacle characters in The Simpsons, or all of those Halloween characters like Death and Gravedigger Billy and all that? I would probably pick Itchy and Scratchy. So even based on quality wise, I just think Itchy and Scratchy Land has to win. So we move on to buildings. This could potentially be the final point if Treehouse of Horror doesn't get any. So let's start with, of course, Treehouse of Horror. So we have the Mag Office from Treehouse of Horror. I think I'm going to give this one a point. It's okay. The Construction Yard, I don't want to give a point to. I think we've had too many of those sort of things. Medieval Rich House. Yeah. The Bell Tower, although I like, it really shouldn't be a building. I think that's a bit of a stretch. Burns Family Crypt. Again, I think we've got so many different crypts. I wasn't particularly impressed with this one. Not enough to give it a point. Count Burns Castle definitely gets a point though. The Large Mausoleum, again, we've had so many similar things to this. The Medieval Cathedral, I'm gonna give it a point. I'll be fair. Mad Doctor's Castle definitely gets a point. Elementary School gets a point. The House on a Scary Hill gets a point. The Battle Dome, I find it ridiculously difficult to decorate, so and I think it's downscaled a bit too much for my liking, so I'm not going to give that a point. The Shining Hotel, though, I actually love that building, so that one definitely gets a point. The Catacombs, I can't give a point to. I'm tempted to say that should be a decoration, really. So, yeah, moving on. So that we finish off 8 points for Treehouse of Horror. Moving on, we have, of course, our Itchy and Scratchy Land. Something I forgot to mention, just real quick, I completely forgot to mention all the NPCs we got in Itchy and Scratchy Land as well. All the different the park roller, the animatronic acts and all that. Not that it would have made a difference. I think I probably would have given a point to that as well. So yeah, Itchy and Scratchy Land definitely won the characters. Moving on, we of course have the Krusty Land entrance. I'm not going to give a point to this, although technically it was kind of a new building in a sense, because we have, it was exclusive to Krusty Land. It was added into Springfield. I'm not going to give a point to it because it's debatable whether you can count that as new content. So, yeah. The nurse's station, I'll definitely give a point to. The childcare center, sure thing. TGI McScratchies, I love that building. The Roger Myers story, so bright, so beautiful. Soaring over Springfield, I like, despite it not coming with a particularly great costume. Itchy's Minefield, I'm not going to give that one a point, sadly. Nickel and Dime Animation, yeah. Cartoon Motel, I actually adore that building. UPA Talent Agency is great too. Itchy 70s Disco is pretty decent, ignoring the Ronald Reagan Re-Education Center, but the cartoon set does not get a point. Screw that one. That's a bad building. So we finish off Itchy and Scratchy Land with 9 points compared to Treehouse of Horror's 8 points. The building was definitely a tight round. But of course, Itchy and Scratchy Land does win, unfortunately. Oops, dropped my pen. So, unfortunately for Treehouse of Horror, Itchy and Scratchy Land goes through to the next round where Treehouse of Horror didn't quite make it. But I will say that building round was quite tight. I could understand if someone has a different opinion and would put them forward for buildings. I think a lot of the Halloween buildings for me, I'm just inherently not a massive fan of. I prefer buildings that are kind of bright and colourful. Whereas, Itchy and Scratchy Land has a lot of those buildings, whereas Treehouse of Horror is never going to have bright and colourful buildings, or very rarely is going to have that. And I feel that's a bit mean, but then it is all based on my personal opinion anyway, so, I did give the points. I gave points to the ones that I think are still good, though. In terms of decorations, if you are curious, now Treehouse of Horror did give some amazing decorations, for sure. The zombie sandwich is one of them. The island of Dr. Hibbert. In Itchy and Scratchy Land, we got a fair amount of different ones, but honestly, which one I'm like, most of them were like things for the Zoominator or things for the log ride. Most of the decorations were stuff like that. We got a lot of buildings in this one. Not particularly tons of decorations, and a lot of them were returning stuff from Krusty Land. So honestly, the decoration point would have gone to Treehouse of Horror for sure. And then in terms of the overall feel, I probably would have gone for Itchy and Scratchy Land. So the points would have been 1 to 4. So Treehouse of Horror, it got smoked, but it was close in the building round anyway. Yeah. So that is it for round 2 anyway. We are now moving on to round 3, which I'm very excited to do. It's going to be great to finally see and fill up the round 4, the 2, 4, 6, 8, the 8 last people. So we have, 16 here? 16 left, 16 competing events to go. And there's only 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, there's only 8 slots to go. Then there's 4, then there's 2, and then we have a winner. Then we will have our winner. So, yeah, tune in next time where we'll be looking at Tap Brawl versus Treehouse of Horror XXVII. That will be an interesting one. And then we've got plenty more to come. So it's gonna be fun. So I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Tell me your thoughts. Do you think the right event won today? And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.